So yeah, here it is, the first guitar I ever built. I always wanted to build a guitar for a long time, and actually I wanted to build something like a Les Paul or a set neck guitar, or an SG maybe. But by the time I got myself a Les Paul, and so I had a set neck guitar, and then I came across a picture of the Fender Custom Shop, and they had a 70s style Shred in very worn out, aged, light gray tone, just with a single humbucker. And I thought that's pretty cool. So I'm gonna build something like that. Not exactly like that, because the Fender Custom Shop guitar had the big 70s style headstock and the tremolo, and I didn't want to build an exact copy of that. So yeah, so you already got it. So obviously the first build is a Stratocaster. There's not much to say about a Stratocaster, or there's so much to say about a Stratocaster, and even though you might not like Fender guitars, I guess we can all agree that that is the most iconic guitar in modern rock music, like the guitar that defined and shaped rock music as we know it today. Probably you all know artists like Jimi Hendrix, Eric Clapton, Kurt Cobain, for instance, and so many more. Even Jimmy Page played a Fender Strat, even though he's known for playing Les Pauls. David Gilmour, and on and on and on, you name it. So when you close your eyes and think of an electric guitar, you probably think of a Stratocaster. So this guitar is built from a kit, but not like those beginner's kit that had everything included. So I wanted to give myself a bit of a challenge, and I had a kind of idea in my mind what I wanted to build. So when the kit came, it was really just the body with the outline and no cavities, nothing routed except the neck pocket and the neck. The neck was already threaded, and it came with this like really big headstock that you're supposed to form into the shape you like. And since I wanted to look this guitar like a heavily modified 60s model, I went with the Fender shape, and this so the outline is taken from a 60s Stratocaster, except that part. So that's a bit wider, so it's not 100% 60s Stratocaster copy, but doesn't matter. It's not supposed to be a copy anyway. Coincidentally, the back of the neck does not have the iconic walnut skunk stripe that you find on earlier and later models. So quite a lucky coincidence. I find the skunk stripe pretty visually appealing, but yeah, it kind of fits the vibe, so that's all right. So about the hardware, there's not that much to say actually. So it got a same Trambucker, and it got pretty simple wiring. You just get the output jack here and a master volume. The only little gimmick it got is a cold split wire, push-pull. To make things easier, I did not route a cavity for the classic check plate. I just built everything inside the pickguard. So the whole electronics are just front-loaded and flipped in. That made it quite easy, and the guitar got a fixed bridge. I don't really like the vintage tremolo. It's just like too much hassle to adjust it, and I don't find it makes a stable tuning. So I got this neck through bridge, and here's the only like real flaw the guitar has. So I had to drill all those holes by hand for the strings to come through, because it did not fit my drill press in the basement. And of course, they did not come out straight. So there's like little ferrules, they don't really fit. I mean, they fit and they work, but like this one is misaligned and sits on top of the others. And for a while, I thought like redoing this, routing a little cavity, put in a block of wood, and start all over again. But at this point, I just wanted to get the thing done, so left it the way it is. And for very first build, I think it's okay. So when the guitar came, it came with the maple neck, and I don't know if you can see that. So it got a flat sawn neck, which is not necessarily a disadvantage. It's just the most economic way to cut wood, but luthiers and guitar builders prefer to have quarter sawn material. So it means that like all the grain lines run perpendicular. That is a bit more structurally sound. I mean, the whole neck, the whole guitar can take the tension of the strings, no problem. But if you have quarter sawn wood, it's less likely that it will start to warp or to bend after a while. So with flat sawn, it's like the boards you can buy for construction timber. After a while, when they get dry, they kind of like they tend to curve up or something, and so this is what could happen to this guitar in a couple of years if it dries out or if it gets too humid or too moist or whatever. The guitar body is ash, which is a classic material for Fender style guitars. However, the wood is very soft and it's made of different blocks that glue together and maybe are not from the same batch. So you can see it here. So the grain is very different, and I think it's a 5-piece body, not even 4 or 2. So those kits, they do not have the best quality. The fretwork was okay. They needed some dressing anyway, so I had to grind down the frets and re-ground them, everything. The truss rod works, that's fine. However, it came with a very cheap plastic saddle. A nut, plastic nut, which I replaced with a bow nut, so that's a true bow nut. And the string height is pretty decent. I managed to do that just fine. However, towards the treble side, there's probably way too much excess material still, and if I find the time, I just like crown it down, make it a bit more beautiful. Well, the guitar actually feels kind of light. Like I was a bit concerned that with just that small cavity for the pickup and for the jack and the controls, the whole thing would be very heavy because there are no more cavities underneath the pickguard. There's no cavity on the backside like you have on the classic Strata for tremolo. And but when I had the whole thing assembled, it felt really light. And I thought, okay, yeah, it kind of felt cheap, to be honest. But I put it on the scale and it's 3.4 kilograms. So that's a decent weight for a Stratocaster. Not too heavy. It's kind of like in the range where other instruments of that type are. So that's okay. That's okay. A bit more on the hardware. Or is that's a Seymour Duncan Trambucker. That's like a upper mid-range pickup with a decent output. So it's kind of designed for rock music, sort of. Oh, that's a bit loose. Huh. The tuners, they kind of a vintage style, and so they fit the kind of 50s, 60s vibe of the guitar. However, they have a locking ability. So they look classic, but they have this like modern feature where you can lock the string in place. The string trees are not that of a classic design. They're pretty modern, but I don't really like the classic Fender string trees, they always appear to me by kind of that the strings can hook up on them, so not that much attention to detail on that end. Initially, the guitar was strung up with a set of 5 to 42 strings, which is pretty standard on a Telecaster or a Strat. I later went to 10 to 64, and that fits the guitar way better. So in the beginning, I did not manage to get the low E string intonated. It was always too high, it was always sharp. The other strings worked fine, but when I switched to a 46 string for the low E, I managed to intonate it and get it fully in tune. So yeah, and in terms of sound of output, a set of 10 to 46 go pretty well with the guitar. What else can I show in that one? So the whole hardware is kind of upper middle class hardware. It's not high end because I didn't want to go too crazy on my first build. It's mostly Japanese made Goto hardware. That stuff works fine and it's not too crazy expensive. So something funny about the strap. So this is the very first guitar strap I ever bought. So it's 25 plus years old. It's been on my very first electric guitar when I was a teenager, and it's still around. And I think this fits quite well. Maybe a bit on the style. Probably not all of you like the aged look, but when you build your first guitar, especially with the ash body, it kind of makes things easier. I do personally like that road-worn look, and this is kind of where the name of the channel comes from. My idea was to make it look like a sunburst, a three-tone sunburst guitar that was painted over at some point. So there's like reddish, brownish parts you see here underneath. I stained them with a wood dye. So like make it red, black, red, and yellow in the middle. Unfortunately, you can't see much of that. And then I just put like a regular cream white spray paint on it, which is very robust. So it took me quite some work to scrape it off again. I was surprised how robust the color is. However, with the ash body, every dye or paint you put on, it tends to sink in. So if you work on an ash body, you actually need like a proper filler and in a primer or something. And if you get that done, you can put a non-translucent, like an opaque color on that. That would probably make a nice guitar. But yeah, I just figured out I'm not a huge fan of ash, I think. Because I sanded down the wood to maybe 600 grit and then wetted it with a mix of water and an ethanol to make the crane pop. And I had to do like multiple times, like endlessly, and it kept on popping up again until I eventually gave up and started staining the guitar, and then the crane came up again and I had to sand it down and back and forth. So that kind of took me forever. I also pre-aged the fretboard. It doesn't look too bad from afar, but you know, I just used some alcohol-based markers to put on some playware, brown and black markers, and I lacquered the fretboard like the headstock because I really like the look of lacquered fretboards, but I don't really like it on the neck because it kind of feels sticky. And since I wanted to simulate some playware, I lacquered the whole neck and just sanded it off, so it gives you the impression, the illusion of many decades of play. Here in the back you can actually see a bit more of the sunburst. You see the black, red, and even in the middle the yellow color. I even put on some buckle rash. So I think the back turned out quite nice. Something that is different to the original kit is the non-symmetric neck plate. Usually you have the standard square neck plate, but I managed to source one of those and shape down the bottom of the pocket to make the higher notes more accessible, so make it easier to play, and as well kind of took off something here of the heel. So this is way smoother than it came out of the box. So you get this like protruding heel and this very pronounced outline, and I sanded that down and made it way more smooth. So the neck plays actually pretty well. It's a classic neck design, the kind of like 60s style C shape, and the nut hook is just 42 millimeters. So for modern players or people who are used to Les Pauls, this kind of might feel a bit skinny and a bit too old-fashioned, but you'll actually get used to it. Yeah, put on a nice water slide decal on the neck plate to make it look more like a real guitar, actually. So it says Rosewood Guitars, Rotool Guitars, Northern Germany. That's basically the name of the channel now. Yeah, there's not too much to say about it. Actually, the whole build went without any major hiccups, except that thing with the string ferrules on the backside. But besides that, it went pretty straightforward. It took me some time to get the net set properly, because the backside of the heel, like that part was really uneven. So that took me a while to get that fitted. So if you ever get one of those kit guitars, be prepared to do some proper woodwork. So like the cheapest kits you can find that come with all the hardware could be a Telecaster kit for about 90 or 100 bucks. And for 100 bucks, you don't buy a guitar, you buy basically a lesson in guitar building. You buy a learning experience, not really a guitar. I guess that's it, pretty much. The guitar has a name. It does not have a fancy name, but I actually put on a stamp on the headstock. I don't know if you can see that. And the same stamp is inside the pocket, so matching numbers. So if this ever comes a collectible, be sure that the backside of the headstock and inside of the neck pocket have the same numbers. And it says SHXA0001. So S stands for strat type, H for the humbucker, X for the fixed bridge, and A for aged. Not very creative, but I think the real guitar should have a serial number or a designation or something. Those are the neat details. Yeah, so far so good. Once I get more experience with this whole video editing thing and something, I think I'm gonna add an audio sample or do that as a separate video later. You probably should know that even though I started playing guitar as a teenager, I'm not a great musician. I'm not a great guitar player at all. But you don't have to, because I don't know if you know, but Leo Fender, the guy who invented the Stratocaster, could not play guitar. People say, yeah, he's an engineer, he's not a musician. And he was not even an engineer, he was an accountant. He knew things about business, about scaling, about operations, and this is what made him successful eventually. But no, he didn't know how to play guitar and invented the most iconic guitar in rock music, I guess. Oh yeah, and one thing I have to give myself credit for, the bridge is grounded. I did not miss to put in a ground wire. got this little channel. There is an open end of ground wire fixed to the bridge. It's all there. It's got proper shielding inside. I put copper foil inside. You can see it peeking through here. Probably should have colored that black as well. Yeah, if I find the time, I'm gonna fix some of the details maybe later. The good thing is, however, when you build a pre-aged guitar, you don't have to be careful. So if you're a bit clumsy, or if your shop is as small as mine, then you're likely to hit something like the corner of the tables, but with that guitar it doesn't matter. So yeah, thanks for watching. So